Good morning. I'm Elana Zimmerman, and I'm your program director at Valley Shalom. And I'm honored to join with my colleagues in having an opportunity to share a few thoughts with you this morning. First of all, I'd like to add my expression of gratitude. Thank you. Thank you to everyone for doing your part to help us stay safe and to remain healthy. For those of you who are out there on the front lines, for those of you who are safely staying at home, thank you for doing your part. I'd also like to remind those of you who are suffering, and there are many of us who are suffering at this time, whether it's for financial reasons, whether it's because of deep loneliness or boredom, that we at Valley Shalom care deeply about your well-being. Nothing here is your fault, and we are here to support you and help you at this time. Please, please reach out to us and let us help you. Let us care for you. So we're at the time of year now that is known on the Jewish calendar as the Omer. The agricultural origins of the Omer are, the Omer is an actual measure of barley. And beginning on the second day of Pesach, we would take that measure of barley to the temple and count for 7 weeks until we got to Shavuot and the time of the new harvest, the wheat harvest. Historically, this is the time when we left Egypt and made our way to Sinai. As you remember, the reason we have 4 delicious cups of wine during the Seder, there are all these promises, 4 different promises, verbs that God used to describe how God remembered us, how God heard our cries, and how God would redeem us and rescue us and take us out of Egypt. And one of those was that God would take us to be God's people. So this time period from leaving Egypt until we get to Shavuot, which is also known as the holiday of Matan Torah, the holiday of the giving of the Torah, that's the actual realization, the fulfillment of that whole promise. And spiritually, we use this time to prepare our inner selves for this reenactment, which we do every year, of the receiving of the Torah, our greatest gift. And the way that we recognize this time, we actually have a mitzvah where we count each day of the Omer. There's a bracha. You're familiar with the formula. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. On the counting of the Omer, we're grateful to God for the opportunity to experience holiness by fulfilling the mitzvah of counting the Omer. We have a funny way of counting. We count the evening as the day begins in the evening. Today happens to be the 11th day, and the way we count it is we say Hayom Achad Asar Yom Shehem Shavua Echad Ve'Arba'a Yamim LaOmer. We would think, since we're so excited about getting the Torah, that we would be counting down 10, 9, 8. But no, we count up. Today is the 11th day of the Omer. Those 11 days are actually a week, 1 week, and 4 days. So each day is so important. We count every day. And what I'd like to suggest perhaps for us today, for our Kavanah, our intention for today, we've been in this period of safer at home for a very long time. We'll probably fulfill our own Omer during the time we're here and then some. And people are starting to talk about, when are we going to get out? And how long until we go out back into the world? And it would be maybe natural to think about counting down those days until we are out. I'm going to suggest that we use the example of the Omer and count up. Make these days count. How do we do that? When you're counting down, each day is a day you don't want. It's like you want to get rid of it. But when you count up, that each day is important. So I'm going to ask, what, in spite of all the difficulties, what have we learned during this time? Think about this for yourself. Maybe discuss it with your family. What have been those moments of sweetness? What opportunities have been created for us during this time? When we do go out, what do we want to take with us? When we look at our Torah and we look at the laws that were given to us, this gift, we're reminded of the lessons that we learned. We're reminded that we were slaves in Egypt, and therefore we understand what it's like to be oppressed. Therefore, we are to be concerned and to help release those that are oppressed. We learned what it was like to feel vulnerable when we were slaves. And it's so important for us to care and uplift the vulnerable. We learned what it was like to be powerless. And we invest a lot of our energy in helping to empower and also uplift those who are experiencing powerlessness. So, what have you learned during these past weeks, months? What do you want to take with you? Because once we're out, this is going to be gone. We're going to just burst out and run to freedom. So we need to take this opportunity to think hard. What connections have you made? What relationships have you deepened? Have you reestablished? Who's been there for you? Who have you been there for? What traditions or experiences have you created in this setting that have been magnificent, that you don't want to lose when you go? Hayom 11 יום, שהם שבוע אחד ו4 ימים לעומר. This is the 11th day. Let's figure out how to make it count. Thank you.